Welcome to the Banff World Media Festival. Your session is about to begin.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stéphane Cardin. I'm the Vice President of Industry and Public Affairs at the Canada Media Fund. I just wanted to welcome you all to our town hall this afternoon, where we'll talk a bit about the highlights of 2011-12 for the CMF and give you a sense of what's coming for 2012-13. La présentation aujourd'hui va se faire en langue anglaise, mais ceux qui auraient des questions en français, comme vous le savez, ceux qui ont participé à nos processus de consultation, la traduction simultanée fait partie de ma description de tâche, alors il me fera plaisir de répondre à vos questions. So to set the stage, we thought we'd just run a little clip for you.
Hi, I'm Sandra Collins, Vice President of Operations and CFO, and thanks again for coming. Maybe just before we start, I can't see if they're in the audience yet, but I just would like to acknowledge two members of the CMF board are either here or on their way in. Yep, Allison Clayton and Glenn Wong, and I think our fearless leader has just arrived, Valerie Creighton, President and CEO, so just wanted to make sure that folks knew that they were in the house. First thing that we wanted to do is to acknowledge the support and contributions that we receive from the federal government and through all the companies listed up here on the board, because without all of these contributions, there would be no CMF and nothing for us to talk about today. So maybe we could just take a minute to acknowledge the contributions of those organizations. So we'll take a few minutes and just talk a little bit about financial highlights. I promise not to recite the financial statements for you. As I just mentioned, the federal government is one of our two key funders. They maintain their consistent contribution this year. BDUs continue to grow and have contributed just over $218 million in the last year to the CMF. And what all of those contributions allow us to do is to obviously fund a lot of projects. And this year, it triggered a record-breaking $1.3 billion in production activity through all the programs that we funded. So it's a pretty big contribution this year. You're up.
Thanks. So talk a bit about the results of our funding for 2011-12. What you see here, as you know, or most of you do, we run two main streams of funding. the convergent stream and the experimental stream, or I think we're going to start calling it like Christina Jennings did yesterday, CMFX. It sounds more sexy. So the experimental stream is where we support leading-edge, innovative, interactive content that has no link to television whatsoever. It's a selective program in which we use a jury of Canadian and international experts, obviously to help us choose the projects that are going to get support. And essentially, in the last year, we had $33 million of funding available. And you have the breakdown here. So essentially, interactive content, which received the vast majority of funding, as well as some applications and software as well. In this program, CMF, given that it is to support innovative projects and therefore projects that have a bit of a higher element of risk, we support up to 75% of expenses, up to $1 million per project. To give you an idea of the kind of projects we've supported, we'll show you a couple of clips. The first is an app, Heard FM, which is a mobile application available for iPhone. Heard has recently been awarded with a Favorite Website Award in the Best Mobile App category, and Secret Location, the company that produced it, was awarded recently an International Digital Emmy in April 2012. So,
Heard FM is here. The only way you'll want to share and discover music with your friends on your phone. Here's how it works. Heard FM gets to know you by analyzing what you're listening to on iTunes and what you've shared on Facebook. Heard FM then displays the music that is currently most popular with you that you can share as playlists or customize to suit the moment by adding directly from your iTunes library. Choose the music, choose your friends, send. Instantly they'll receive the music that they can stream on their phone. Sharing music on your mobile has never been so easy. Heard FM then gives you an awesome recommendation based on what you're sharing and what you're listening to. Listen to previews, full songs, playlists, and so much more without ever leaving the app. Heard FM also lets you see your musical influence mapped out on what we call a track journey. See where your music travels and who's listening around the world. Start sharing, start discovering. On the go, in the moment, person to person. Heard FM, shared music discovery. Install the app today.
So, just to repeat, most of you must know we fund content, obviously, but we also fund software. And one of the best examples of what we funded so far in the 80-some-odd production projects that we funded over 2 years is a project called Exagora from Montreal-based Moment Factory. They're specialized in the conception and production of multi-environments, combining video, lighting, architecture, sound, and special effects to create experiences for public spaces. They've worked with clients like Cirque du Soleil, Disney, 9 Inch Nails, Céline Dion, and most recently, the Madonna halftime show at the last Super Bowl. So their technology was funded by the experimental stream. Moment Factory is recognized as, by Deloitte as one of the 50 fastest revenue growth companies in Canada and part of the Fast 500 in all of North America. So have a look at Exagora.
The projects we work on here at Moment Factory involve different types of artists working on various complex systems, but they all come together for the same goal, to increase the engagement of the public. So in building Exagora, we hope to bridge the gap between the artistic inspiration and the technical innovation. With this revolutionary system, we give artists new tools to create shows and permanent installation, transforming public spaces into an immersive cultural experience.
Exagora is a software-based multimedia management solution built to interact with artists and end users from project conception through operations.
Right from the beginning, an artist can drag and drop their designs into the 3D visualizer, which
allows them to navigate a virtual environment and make any adjustments. The easy-to-use timeline system lets one plan and schedule events while also adding effects in real time. Exagora is an open platform that works with a wide range of media formats from Flash to Photoshop. Every format is welcome. The system works like this. Exagora watches for inputs such as touchscreens, hand gestures, smartphones, and RSS feeds, then interprets this information in real time and transforms it into various interactive outputs, including lights, sound, and video. The environment becomes an instrument, allowing the user to engage and play.
It has been fun to watch the evolution of this technology, turn from a creative need into an interactive platform for artists and users to explore.
We're now going to turn to the convergence stream. Convergence stream being the CMF's most largest programs. It includes a number of programs in there, performance envelopes being obviously the largest. This is the stream in which we support television programs and the associated digital media content that goes along with it. As you can see here, Sandra was mentioning before, the 1.3, well here, the part of the convergence stream with $312 million in funding that CMF provided to over 500 projects, triggered $1.2 billion in production volume. Thank you, Rob.
With the creation of the Canada Media Fund, there were a number of changes that we made and some things that we committed to continue to monitor and to report on the industry. With the creation of the Canada Media Fund, in-house programming became eligible, and so we have a cap of 15%. This year, the total broadcaster in-house and affiliated production was at 3%, well under the cap and consistent with what we saw last year. One of the other points that we continue to monitor is what we refer to as flex usage. We now allow 50% flex. In the English market, we saw an increase in VAMPA, mostly at the expense of drama, from the original targeted genre splits. And in the French market, it was likewise an increase in VAPA and a modest increase in documentary with a reduction as well in drama. So we're still seeing that the spend is still fairly closely aligned to our original allocations.
Thanks. Doing a little dance here. All right. This one I'm going to spend a bit more time on. As some of you may recall, back from 2009 when the CMF was announced and we were going across the country doing industry consultation, the original intent in the policy framework that was laid down for the CMF in the convergence stream was that every television project would need to have associated with it original value-added digital content. That raised concerns. These concerns were shared with the Department of Heritage, and essentially for the first 2 years of the CMF, we were granted additional flexibility so that we could meet other policy imperatives, that is to get the content out there to Canadians on the platform of their choice. So the 3 ways that you could qualify were by creating digital media content, or by having your television program streamed. That's what we mean here by digital distribution, or also by having the program aired on a CRTC-approved video-on-demand service. So you can see that although here this is not in terms of percentage of projects, it's percentage of funding, the vast majority has gone to projects that have value-added digital content. We're not yet at 100%. Now, after discussions that we had with, again, the Department of Heritage towards the end of the last year, we were able to obtain that flexibility again for this year. But this is, I would say, a question of ongoing discussion with the department about the CMF's convergence requirements. And we will keep you abreast, obviously, as to what is in store for 2013-14. In terms of the content that we did support, digital media content within the convergent stream, we've supported 177 projects, a total spend of approximately $10 million. 3/4 of that went to online content such as websites and other portals, 21% for games, and the rest went to applications for mobile platforms. In terms of aggregate spend, I'd say perhaps still not where we expect it to be. And in that respect, we've done a number of things. Sandra will speak a bit later to how we've allocated our program budget. But one of the key changes that we made in the guidelines this year is that the percentage of funding that we give for the production of convergent digital media, we increased it from 50% to 75%, so the same percentage that we have in the experimental stream, to try and close the financing gap on the production of this kind of content. Next, thanks. Okay, so here we'll just give you a couple of examples of convergent digital media content that we've supported. The first, Murdoch Mysteries, The Curse of the Lost Pharaohs, is an exclusive 13-part original series created as an extension of the 4th season of Murdoch Mysteries. The program was nominated for a digital Emmy in the digital program fiction category at the last April. It didn't win, but the winner was another Canadian program, Endgame Interactive. So here, have a look. Oh, you've skipped one.
My name is George Crabtree. By day, I help to solve crimes with my companions of the Toronto Police. By night, my inspiration pulls me into extraordinary places.
7 prominent citizens dying of natural causes all on the same night. It's too far beyond credulity.
It skulks somewhere waiting to strike.
It's ghastly, like some sort of curse.
I believed our fair city might see some reprieve from murder.
Fate cares little about our beliefs, George.
Sekhmet is coming. We'd best make our departure.
Unarmed, I doubt we'll make it. This unique mixture can only be found in one place on Earth, Niagara Falls.
Sekhmet has built himself something called a biocannon.
If the spores we found in that coffin were to be used on a larger scale,
Biological attack on the Queen. How utterly vulgar.
What are you doing?
getting us out of here alive.
Thomas, can we get a little help here?
I'm a little busy at the moment.
Good God!
God can't help you, I'm afraid.
No one can. Step inside my imagination as my first novel unfolds.
Okay. The next clip is the digital extension of the popular dramatic series Toute la Vérité, which airs on the TVA network and which has consistently, on the television side, reached audiences of over 1 million viewers now for a few seasons.
Vivez une expérience unique pendant la diffusion de Toute la Vérité. Obtenez en temps réel du contenu exclusif avec l'application pour tablette et mobile. Photos, vidéos, entrevues inédites. Téléchargez l'application gratuitement sur tva.canoe.ca/toute la vérité.
So I was speaking a bit earlier about the financing gap for the creation of convergent digital media content. So this here gives you over the first 2 years of CMF funding, the financial structures of these kinds of projects. And essentially you can see that the primary funder is the CMF at approximately 40%. According to our guidelines, broadcasters have to put in a minimum of 10%. Well, they've actually put in about a quarter of the funding. Provincial funds such as the Bell Broadcast and New Media, not provincial, private funds, such as the Bell Broadcast and New Media Fund, the IPF for the web series, and the Québécois Fund are also important contributors at about 17%, and the rest was made up from provincial funding, producer investment, and the other 2% in the last year being contributions from the federal government and foreign sources. So that, in essence, provides a good part of the explanation as to why we increased our funding to 75% this year. This gives you a breakdown of production between region and the regions and the centers. In the English market, you can see that although we had an increase of 6.6 million year over year, the actual share really stayed equivalent at approximately 30%. So 30% in the regions, 70% in the centers. That is, still off from the historical percentages that we've seen in the past, which were more around a 60-40 split. And for that reason, we have taken a few measures, again, in terms of the program budget and the guidelines. Sandra will speak to the program budget, but with respect to the English production incentive, which we increased substantially, 5.5 million, just to speak now to numbers for this year, 5.5 million of that allocation have already been spent. All of the allocation for British Columbia and Nova Scotia are spent, and we're only approximately 6 weeks into the funding year. In the French market, there was actually a bit of a decline, 1.1 million, but the share is still at approximately 16% in the regions and the remainder in the center of Montreal, and that is in line with historical averages. So moving on now to communications. First, we thought we would mention and share with you that the CMF hired a new director of marketing and communications who is right here in the room, Mr. Maurice Boucher. And I can say that he has certainly stepped into the hot seat, and it's been more than busy on the communications front at the CMF in the last 2 quarters at least. We completely revamped our website in October of 2011. Oh, sorry, I'm starting with this. We came out with our first online annual report in October of 2011. And it, after it launched, was viewed by more than 1,300 unique visitors. Quite happy with that format. As I was saying, we also revamped our website. That was launched in March of 2012, completely redesigned to provide our clients with quicker, easier access to all the information they need on the CMF and its programs. We also included, you can see there at the bottom right, a dedicated section for outreach and consultation with an online discussion forum pertaining to our policies and our programs. All documents that the CMF uses during its consultation process can be found there. And of course, we welcome comments and suggestions from the industry on an ongoing basis. The CMF also supports a number of events through our partnerships. We've had 32 partnerships in the last fiscal year across Canada and internationally. These help organizations attract thousands of industry professionals and creators to meet, exchange, debate about opportunities and challenges in Canada's media landscape. And they provide an opportunity for the CMF to share information and gather inputs from our clients. On Sunday afternoon, we launched this new project, Canada on Screen. Okay, see? It causes a lot of excitement. This one is distinct from our corporate website. It's more of a public-facing website where people, Canadians can get interested and involved in the projects that the CMF funds. It's separated, as you can see there, into 4 broad categories: television, web content, games, apps, and software. So far, we've loaded over 120 projects onto this. All producers in this room, please, if you want to send us the clips and everything that we need, we're more than happy to increase that number. That is our intention, to grow that number on an ongoing basis. So for each project there, you can find information, not only a clip, a synopsis, but information obviously related to the production company, the broadcaster, the CMF program that it was supported through, information pertaining to sales, awards in Canada, internationally, and as well some media coverage. So it's quite comprehensive. And we have a rather inconspicuous booth just outside the room here to the right, where we've got a number of laptops set up. So any of you who are interested in checking out Canada on screen, you can go do that right out there in the hall. Speaking now a bit about the current fiscal year. As many of you know, we launched our new guidelines early April. The biggest change was that for the first time, these were guidelines that are going to be in place for the next 2 fiscal years. And that change and others were made to reflect the 2 strategic objectives that the CMF board set for the CMF last year, namely to simplify our programs and our processes and to reward successful Canadian content. So when we launched the guidelines, one of the things that we did was to, for the 2nd year in a row, was to do a webcast, both in English and French, to basically run through the guidelines with our clients, take some questions. Over 900 stakeholders participated in those 2 webcasts. They're still available on our website if you want to view them, as well as the Q&As that were prepared after the fact. And then I would say the second and probably more substantial undertaking was that our Director of Programs, Nathalie Clermont, who is right here, along with Roxane Girard, who is the Director of the CMF Program Administrator at Telefilm Canada, and Fran Accinelli, the Director in the English market, and Dominique Lapierre, Director in the French market, undertook a 3-week, 19-city, 22-stop tour. They've just wrapped that up, and a big congratulations to them for that. We really appreciate it.
So we'll take a moment now and just note some of the successes of the programs that we've funded. First, we'll talk a bit about the audiences. Because of the quality content and all the work that goes into it, all of these programs listed here in the English market all broke $1 million audience mark, which is an excellent feat for all those shows. So congratulations to all those who participated in the production of those programs. Yay! And in the French market, CMF-funded programs consistently are consistently amongst the top 50 programs overall, and all of the ones listed here broke the 1.1 million mark. So again, kudos to all those who participated with those projects. Oh, awards, you're back. We didn't choreograph so well.
Okay. And I'm just here for one slide. And that has to do with awards. So why don't you just stay right next to me? Last year, CMF-funded projects were nominated or won more than 240 awards, which were handed out. 42 international awards, 56 Geminis, 53 Jumeaux, 19 Leos, 18 Rosies, and a bunch of others. Back to you.
Okay. As many of you know, many Canadian programs are successful outside of Canada as well. some through pre-sales into the US. We've seen that with Flashpoint, Rookie Blue, Combat Hospital, more recently Saving Hope. Some are being sold many places, Lost Girl, Call Me Fitz. Others are sold in many, many territories, particularly the kids programming, such as Cat in the Hat. So all of these shows have been very successful internationally. So, and now we're going to take a little bit of a turn and talk a little bit going forward. So what's always of interest to those producers in the room is what are funds available for 2012 and 2013. So this year we have available program budget of $375 million. It breaks down, as you see on the screen here, between convergent and experimental. $339 million on the convergent and $36 million is in experimental. Stefan's given you a brief outline of both of those programs. I think we just wanted to point out in particular a couple things on the convergent side, that the English production incentive is increased to $15 million for this year, and the convergent digital media incentive is also $15 million. And the last reporting I had, and Suzanne, correct me if I'm wrong, is that so far to date, convergent digital media incentive spending has increased over all of our spending for last year. So I think we're off to a good start there. So I encourage producers to check out both of those programs on our website. So continuing just a little bit on the go forward, the CMF staff engaged with our board in a planning session in the fall and laid out a program of a variety of strategic objectives going forward. So this is a summary of the strategic objectives, and I'll just take you through a few of the initiatives that we're embarking on in support of these particular objectives. One is that we intend to look at creating partnerships with other Canadian and international funding organizations, trying to leverage our available resources. Everyone's resources are very limited, and we're trying to maximize the potential. Some things we want to look at in more detail are co-funding or administrative agreements, industry intelligence, which you're going to hear a little bit more later in the presentation, and also some joint promotion of funded projects. Another initiative that we're looking at is forging links with venture capital companies, incubators and accelerators, and providing funded projects with access to additional capital and expertise. So again, trying to leverage all funding available for the maximum impact. So I think Stefan will talk a little bit about some more initiatives.
Thanks. With respect to supporting Canadian content, moving towards a global digital environment, one of the things that we have initiated this year, while we do try and simplify our programs on an ongoing basis, we have created one new requirement, and that is that on a go-forward basis, all CMF funded projects, producers will have to report out on their sales. So basically all sales, Canadian, international, outside of the financial structure. Why? Well, that's essentially so that we can ensure that we continue to reward successful content. On the international side, given that we can't have access to audience figures, well, the best proxy for that is international sales. And the intention of the CMF, we've been talking about this for a number of years, but we will get there, is to devise an incentive related to the sales of CMF-funded projects to reward those who do better in that frame. Now, I did get a comment yesterday from some who had concerns as to the scale that this might take. You know, as we said, this would be an incentive that we would devise. I think like anything else that the CMF does, we would start on a pilot basis, test it out, work out the kinks, and then see from there if that gets grown. Another strategic action, this one in relation to the strategic objective of ensuring diversity of voices. We want to ensure consistent access to funding for regional projects. We've spoken about the increase that we have granted to the English production incentive. But during the consultation process last year, I would say that there was a lot of talk about development, the way that perhaps that CMF could review its approach to development to favor more development of projects in the regions in the English language. So that is something that we'll be discussing with you in the consultation process this year. Last and not least, and that will allow me to segue to and introduce to you as well our Director of Industry and Market Trends, Catalina Briceño, is our intention to ramp up, I would say, on, CMF is first and foremost a funder. We're also a promoter of the content that we support. But as I mentioned yesterday on another panel, we are hoping to move from an aggregator of industry intelligence to a provider of industry intelligence. And we're going to do that in a number of ways. And to do that, I would invite Catalina to the stage. So, Catalina Briceño.
So thank you, Stefan, Sandra. Hello everyone. So can you hear me? The Industry and Market Trends Department was created in late 2010 and is really meant to help CMF's decision and policymakers, as well as industry stakeholders, to better understand the fast-evolving screen-based industries. So, of course, a big part of our work is to research, analyze, and monitor new trends, whether in terms of new technologies, new users' behaviors, or even new business practices. But beyond our role, and this is what Stefan was alluding to, beyond our role of gather information, what we're really interested in pushing forward is the sharing of knowledge. And this sharing of knowledge is what I'm here to talk to you about. So don't worry if my voice shakes, it will pass. You'll see that. So to start with, you must know about Trendscape. Trendscape is, we called it écran de veille in French. This is the Industry and Market Trend blog. It was actually launched here in Banff last year, so we're celebrating our first anniversary. And it really remains a primary window through which we communicate our views on how we believe digital media is currently shaping the future of content production and distribution. Now, our intention going forward is to scale the content that will be available on the blog, but also on other communication platforms, by introducing a network of contributors, individuals and institutional collaborators as well, that are renowned for their expertise and their influence in the field of digital media and interactive media. We call this team the Watch Squad. The objective of this initiative is actually to foster, that's my English. Foster, thank you. This is the French. To foster then a collaborative approach to collect, analyze, and share information and knowledge. Now, we also work very closely with different partners, either as financing contributors or as direct commissioners of more comprehensive research papers on different topics. Last year, for instance, we've participated to 9 of these research projects. Some are still ongoing, but you already can access to some publication on our website. 2 of them, for instance, that were actually produced by the Canadian Media Production Association with the contribution of the Canada Media Fund and other funders as well. So 2 of them I can talk to you very briefly about that are already available. So the first one is Content Everywhere, which is a fascinating report on business and production opportunities that are related to the ever-increasing time spent by consumer watching video online. And the other one was an analysis on digital media economic multipliers. And this was specifically used to produce the section on convergent production that was included in the Profile 2011 that was released by CMPA in early January, if my memory is good. So that is already on our website, but I'm announcing that as of later today, you will also be able to download 2 new publications. And the first one is called New Directions for the Financing of Interactive Digital Media in Canada. That is published by the Canadian Interactive Alliance with research conducted by MDR Communications. This extensive endeavor is a result of a partnership with the Ontario Media Development Corporation, Canada Media Fund, and the assistance as well of the Bell Broadcast and New Media Fund, Department of Canadian Heritage, National Film Board, and the Canadian Media Production Association. So this study takes an in-depth examination of the current financing landscape for Canada's interactive digital media industry. It also assesses the effectiveness of financial mechanisms that support the sector, including those of the private sector, and this actually addressed directly the strategic objective and what we're pursuing right now into better understanding the private investment sector ecosystem, so incubators, accelerators, angels, and VC investors included. The second study is called ABC of Connected TV. This is produced by Evolu Media. It gathers structured and relevant strategic information on an international level to allow media professionals to better understand trends in connected platforms, and also to better understand the changes that those connected platforms create in the production and distribution of audiovisual and interactive content. This study, which was originally produced in French, is now available in English throughout the country, and both of them will be available through our website that you can download. Maurice, I'm sorry, I believe is, no, but in the section about industry intelligence, you go there and get your copies of those two new publications. Very quickly, a word maybe also on the other subject, a research subject that we're working on right now. So there will be in the upcoming months also announcement related to these projects, a series of white papers on second screen strategies, an analysis on opportunities and limits of crowdfunding, a directory for alternative funding and distribution for documentaries. This is a very exhaustive guide and report that is actually covering Canada, USA, and Europe. And we're also currently developing an online producer's resource kit to turn out and manage transmedia projects. Now, these two last projects are made in collaboration with international partners. One is Media Europe and the other one is Screen Australia. And this is also something, as we mentioned previously, that we're really looking forward to push and to expand more, which is positioning the CMF and the Canadian producers on a global digital media market. Now I'd like to say very quickly a word about another very important endeavor that was announced recently, which is the Digital Media Measurement Framework. Now, this project was developed in collaboration with a national advisory committee that was comprised of 32 members of the broadcasting, digital media production, and funding communities. And as you know, and as we've alluded to, our mandate from Canadian Heritage, Department of Canadian Heritage, and our commitment towards our industry funders to reward success, commanded that we established a consistent way to assess the success that were funded, of digital media projects that were funded through the CMS program. So this was really the main driver for bringing all of these players around the table, trying to find out this common language and a harmonized approach to measuring the success of digital media. So the proposed framework covers the performance measurement of these projects, either if they're funded, whether they're funded through the convergence stream, so the digital media components, or whether they're funded through the experimental stream. And without getting too technical, I will only say that the framework is activated by two components. One of them is a classification system that really allows the producers to position their project in the right category, and the CMF to segment and to compare the project on a fair basis. And at the core of that, specific metrics and key performance indicators have been determined and producers will have to report on those to us. But I don't want to get too technical on that. All the documentation and the full presentation of the digital media measurement framework is also available on our website, this time under funding program section. In the coming year, we'll continue to focus a lot on measurement, as of course we intend to optimize the use of the current digital media measurement framework and have it evolve it in the following years to capture more and more layers of this very complex synergy that is created by the interaction of the different platforms and the different contents. Among other initiatives, we will create specific working industry groups that will be working on other topics of measurements, let's say, or other layers, if I may express myself like that. For instance, we're going to talk a lot about online distribution of television programs, or VOD. And another topic we're really interested in investigating is how social media has an impact on content that is funded by CMF. And on this last point, and this will be my closing note, we're also announcing a pilot project that will be starting at the end of this month with a company that is called C-Vibes, which has developed and already successfully marketed in Canada an analytic platform that is specifically designed to monitor social media activities created around television programs. The C-Vibes Social TV Index provides a clear profile of the social TV audiences, therefore allowing producers and broadcasters to better understand viewers and increase their engagement. Now, CMF's objective in this pilot project is to assess new audience and engagement metrics and validate, whether this may become a relevant information to better assess and to better communicate the success of the projects that we fund through our programs. I am done. I will remain available for any further questions. I'm going to be returned on the table. Thank you very much for your time and your attention. Turn back the mic.
Thanks, Catalina. Just a couple more minutes, we'll wrap this up. I just wanted to touch base a bit on consultation for 2012-2013. Given that we've adopted multi-year guidelines, the CMF will not be embarking this fall on a cross-country tour to consult in the different cities, but rest assured for those who might go through consultation withdrawal, because we know that you need to be engaged and in discussion with us on a permanent basis. We will be retaining the mechanism of the working groups and the national focus groups to work towards solutions for certain policy elements, always around the performance envelope factors, English regional development, our convergence requirements, and as well as Catalina mentioned, moving forward the agenda on digital media measurement. So I'll just keep it at that with respect to consultation, but I think, Sandra, you've got one last piece to add.
Just something that will be coming up in the fall. We're going to be reissuing what's known as the accounting and reporting requirements. So when producers complete a project and report in. So we will be reissuing that. We'll provide education sessions to go along with that. So if you're not already on our distribution list, I encourage you to do that so that you can stay abreast of any changes. So I think that pretty well concludes things for us. I think just before we open it up for questions, I just want to acknowledge the other CMF staff that are here. Suzanne Kepler, Pierre Compo, who's at the back somewhere, José Lapierre, who's been spending a fair bit of time manning our booth. So just want to say thanks to them. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank some people that don't get probably publicly thanked that often. That's the rest of our CMF staff, as well as all the telephone staff who work on our behalf on all of the CMF files. So I'd like to say thanks to all of them for all their work, because it allows us to do what we do. So maybe I'll just open things up for questions. If people have any questions? It's hard to see.
Yes, one.
Oh, okay. I'll come back and we'll...
Hello. Forgive me, I came in halfway, so if my question was covered, I apologize. It's just about the question of genres, excluded genres. I work in factual reality format television, and as you know, this is an excluded genre, yet these are some of the greatest opportunities for commercial return, formatting Canadian shows around the world. Revenue of many broadcasters really want to create these shows, audiences want to watch them. Will there ever be a time that this genre may appear as a CMF-able item?
Well, the genres that the CMF can support is actually something that's embedded in our contribution agreement. So before we could even contemplate doing that, that would be something that we would need to get that authority to do so, specifically from the Department of Canadian Heritage. One thing that we didn't mention during the presentation is that based on the results of this current funding year, there will be a review of the CMF program by the Department of Heritage in 2013-14. It's nothing exceptional. It's any government-supported program gets reviewed on an ongoing basis. And perhaps this will be the opportunity to discuss what the policy framework might be for the CMF on a go-forward basis starting in 2014. But until then, these are things that are set in our contribution agreement. Any other question? Yes.
In terms of your strategic objectives, you have for diversity of voices, and your emphasis is on the regional diversity. Is there any emphasis on visible minorities or inclusion in your strategic plans?
Across the board in all of the programs, no, but we do have a diverse languages program specifically to support the development and production of programs in languages other than English, French, and Canadian Aboriginal languages. It's a $2 million program. Actually, we just grew it this year. It used to be $1.5 million. And given the oversubscription that we've seen on the program, we've increased it. Suzanne might help me here that this is off the cuff, but I know that we've supported, I would say maybe about 15, 20 projects in that program each year. I know definitely in Italian, Spanish, Mandarin, Punjabi, Tamil, and if there's anything else I'm missing, but we do have that program, and I think it's been rather successful so far. Yep.
So in addition to that, so that's in the actual languages, but how about sort of in mainstream projects that you're funding, given that the population of Canada is changing quite rapidly, especially in metropolitan centers like Toronto, but also more regionally, since that is part of your strategic objective, to have it more integrated into content instead of just the language-based diversity?
Well, you know, in addition to the regional question, which we've already spoken to, we do have a number of programs and incentives to support production across the regions of Canada. You know, and I didn't mention that we also have a program to support programs in Aboriginal languages. It's a $7 million program. Yes, $7 million. And we also provide 10% of all French language funding for the production of Francophone programs in official minority language settings. Those are all selective programs. Our largest program, as I mentioned, is the Performance Envelope program. And in that one, you know, it's essentially a broadcaster-triggered program. The CMF does not get involved in the decision-making process as to which programs get put forward. Essentially, there are a number of eligibility criteria, but if the program meets those eligibility criteria, that's how that main funding program works. So, you know, I do think there are a number of incentives in place. Perhaps there's room to explore others as well.
I think we're getting the signal.
So I just had a question about the new rule with regards to the small envelopes for, I think it's $3 million cap for broadcasters, and that they now have 100% flex to spend in-house. And maybe can you expand on that, and what will happen, for example, if one of those broadcasters gets bought by a bigger broadcaster, will that right transfer, and
is there room for that still?
Well, just, I mean, I think a lot of people were surprised when they heard that now the smaller independent broadcasters they can spend 100% in-house. I was quite shocked. I think a lot of people I've talked to were shocked that happened, and then what happens if? I mean, where does that lead, I guess, is the question.
There is more flexibility for those who hold an envelope of $2 million or less. And if that particular group was purchased, we would reassess at the next set of envelope allocation. So it's not a permanent designation. It's reviewed annually based on that, on our current threshold anyways of $2 million. So we're just starting that this year. So we'll, again, as Stefan said, we continue to assess our programs and have a look at it, see what the impact is. We did feel that it was important to allow those broadcasters that do not have a large envelope by comparison with the much larger corporate groups, to allow them some flexibility to be able to maximize the use of their envelope, because some of the caps that would be imposed some of their envelope, they couldn't spend it, which completely defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do, which is to provide funding to produce content. So that is why we decided to grant the additional flexibility for that group. Sorry, it's both.
That does 100% in-house. That could happen. But I think, as most broadcasters have said, once they go down that road, they find it's much cheaper to hire independent producers. Because most of those broadcasters can't spend what their envelope is at that low level when they're restricted by genre. It's to allow, if a broadcaster has an envelope of $2 million and they want to do one drama, we hope to encourage that, rather than not being able to do anything in drama, docs, or kids. That was the primary motive. And because, as you saw, the in-house spend was 3%, and the cap is 15%, and even in the large groups, we weren't as concerned about the in-house. Now, if that happens, as Sandra said, we review it all the time.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Well, what we'd like to do at this point is to invite you all to join us at our cocktail. So as our CEO said yesterday, we're standing in the way between you and booze. So
you just have to step outside the door.
Just step outside the door, and we'll be happy to have a drink and continue the conversation. Thank you all very much for coming today.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.